ever dreamed of marrying a prince? You know, like the whole fairy tale ending.
Oh, yeah.
Well, today we're diving into a story where American women did just that.
Mm-hmm.
But it wasn't always about happily ever after.
How is no?
Think Gilded Age, sprawling mansions,
Right.
and a transatlantic chase for titles and status.
Ooh, very interesting.
It's the captivating world of dollar princesses.
Dollar princesses.
Wealthy American heiresses who traded fortunes
Okay.
for a chance to become European nobility.
It really is a fascinating period, isn't it?
It is.
Picture this. Late 19th and early 20th centuries.
Okay.
America's bursting with new money from the Industrial Revolution.
Yes.
These families had the cash, but they yearned for the social standing.
Mm-hmm.
That old money, especially in Europe, seemed to hold.
And on the other side of the pond, you had European aristocracy,
Right.
struggling to keep up appearances,
Mm-hmm.
crumbling estates, dwindling fortunes.
Yeah.
But those prestigious titles remained.
Oh, they did.
So it was a match made in, well,
Not heaven.
maybe not heaven, but certainly opportunity.
Certainly opportunity, exactly.
And that's what we're going to unpack today.
Yeah.
I've got a whole stack of sources.
We do.
Articles,
Sorry.
historical accounts, even a glimpse into personal diaries
Personal diaries.
that reveal the motivations, the triumphs,
Okay.
and the often heartbreaking realities behind these dollar princess marriages.
Fascinating.
I think many of us,
Yeah.
especially those of us who remember the days before the internet,
Mm-hmm.
can relate to that yearning for something more,
Right.
that desire for social mobility.
Absolutely.
This deep dive takes us back to a time when those desires played out on a grand scale.
Speaking of grand scales, did you know that some estimate the total wealth transfer
No.
from these American brides to their European husbands was a staggering $25 billion?
Wow.
That's billion with a B.
That's an eye-watering sum even by today's standards.
It is.
It really puts into perspective just how high the stakes were
It does.
in this game of social chess.
Social chess. I like that. It's easy to get caught up in the dazzling amounts and fairy tale image. But we can't forget these were real people
Right.
making life-altering choices within a very specific social and economic context.
Let's rewind a bit and talk about what fueled this whole phenomenon.
Okay.
I've got this image in my head of Caroline Astor's 400, that exclusive circle of New York's elite.
Right. Right.
Was the place to be seen,
Oh.
but notoriously difficult to break into,
Yeah.
especially for families whose fortunes were, let's say, freshly minted.
Freshly minted. I like that. That's spot on.
Being excluded from circles like Mrs. Astor's fueled the ambition to gain recognition and legitimacy through European titles.
Of course.
A European title for some was like a golden ticket to social acceptance.
Oh, absolutely.
And the European nobility.
Yes.
They saw this influx of wealthy American brides as a lifeline,
Yes.
a chance to inject much-needed cash into their dwindling fortunes.
Think of it as a mutually beneficial, albeit complex arrangement. The American brides brought wealth and a certain level of modern sophistication, while the European aristocracy offered titles, lineage,
Yeah.
and a connection to a world steeped in history.
But were these unions ever about love,
That's a good question.
or was it all purely transactional?
That's a question historians still debate.
I see.
While some matches likely involved genuine affection,
Yeah.
the financial aspect was undeniably a driving force.
Right.
And often the price of that coveted title came with a heavy personal cost.
There's this captivating story about Alice Thaw,
Alice Thaw.
daughter of a Pittsburgh railroad tycoon,
Okay.
who's set to marry the Earl of Yarmouth.
Earl of Yarmouth.
Picture this. It's her wedding day. Guests are arriving.
Oh, wow.
But the groom is nowhere to be found.
Oh, no.
Turns out he had a bit of a gambling problem.
Uh-oh.
Not just a small problem.
Oh, dear.
The Earl was deep in debt,
Oh.
and on his way to the church was served with a legal notice demanding payment.
Oh, my goodness.
So on her wedding day, Alice's brother had to rush down to the courthouse
Wow.
and renegotiate the dowry to satisfy the groom's creditors.
That's awful.
Talk about a stressful start to married life.
Oh, my goodness. This anecdote highlights the power dynamics at play.
It really does.
These American brides, often well-educated and accustomed to a certain level of independence,
Right.
were entering a world where their wealth, rather than their individuality,
Yeah.
was often the primary concern.
It makes you wonder what life was really like for these women
I know.
once the fairy tale facade faded.
That's where we'll pick up in the next part of our deep dive.
Okay.
We'll explore the realities of these marriages, the triumphs, the heartbreaks, and the lasting legacy of these fascinating transatlantic unions.
So if you're enjoying this journey back in time with us, make sure to subscribe to the deep dive.
Yes.
We'll be back soon to uncover more captivating stories and hidden chapters of history.
Sounds good. Welcome back to our deep dive into the world of dollar princesses.
Yeah.
We've talked about the rise of these transatlantic marriages, the motivations, the sheer scale of the financial exchange.
Right.
Now let's shift our focus to what life was like for these women.
Okay.
Once they traded American fortunes for European titles.
You know, it's easy to get caught up in the glamour of it all.
It is.
The grand estates, the glittering balls, the fairy tale image.
Right? But as we delve deeper, a more complex picture emerges.
Precisely. While some dollar princesses may have found a degree of happiness and fulfillment in their new lives,
Right.
many others faced a stark reality that was far from the fairy tale they'd envisioned.
Take Consuelo Vanderbilt, for example.
Consuelo Vanderbilt.
Her name was synonymous with wealth and privilege.
It was.
Yet her marriage to the Duke of Marlborough was a prime example of just how isolating and unhappy these unions could be.
Consuelo's story is truly heartbreaking.
It is.
Imagine being just 18 years old, essentially forced into a marriage to save your family from financial ruin.
And then finding yourself trapped in a loveless union with a man who saw you more as a means to an end than a partner.
And her dowry, a staggering sum, even by today's standards,
Right.
was largely used to restore Blenheim Palace,
Oh, wow.
the Duke's ancestral home.
Oh, my goodness.
It's almost as if she was buying her way into a gilded cage.
That's a poignant way to put it. And Consuelo wasn't alone.
Right.
Many of these dollar princesses faced similar challenges. Societal pressures, expectations to conform to a rigid aristocratic lifestyle,
Right.
and the constant awareness that their wealth, rather than their personalities or aspirations,
Yeah.
was their primary value in the eyes of their husbands and their new social circles.
It's a sobering reminder that money and titles don't guarantee happiness.
They don't.
In fact, for some, it seems those very things became a barrier to genuine connection and fulfillment.
Absolutely. And it wasn't just the emotional toll that these women had to bear.
Right.
Many of them also faced a significant loss of agency.
I see.
They were often expected to be submissive, to conform to traditional gender roles,
Right.
and to prioritize their husband's family and lineage above their own desires.
We touched on this earlier, but the case of Winteretta Singer,
Winteretta Singer?
an heiress to the Singer sewing machine fortune,
Okay.
really underscores this point.
It does.
She was a lesbian,
Oh, wow.
forced into marriages of convenience despite her true identity.
Winteretta's story is particularly tragic.
It is.
Because it highlights the societal pressures and expectations that these women were often subject to.
Right.
Their marriages were often orchestrated by ambitious parents, seeking social advancement for their families,
Yeah.
with little regard for their daughter's individual happiness or desires.
It makes you wonder how much these marriages were about love and companionship,
Yeah,
and how much they were about social climbing, securing financial stability,
right.
or even in some cases, simply escaping the confines of American society.
That's a question worth pondering. It's likely that the motivations varied greatly from case to case. For some, it may have been a genuine desire for love and a different kind of life. For others, it may have been about ambition, social pressure,
Yeah.
or a combination of factors.
It's fascinating, isn't it?
It is.
How these individual stories, when woven together, reveal so much about the broader social and cultural currents of the time.
Absolutely.
We see themes of ambition, social mobility,
Right.
the changing role of women, and the allure of a world steeped in history and tradition.
Precisely. And as we move into the 20th century,
Yeah.
we start to see a shift in these dynamics.
Mm-hmm.
The era of the dollar princess began to wane as social and economic forces on both sides of the Atlantic
Okay.
transformed the landscape of these transatlantic unions.
Let's talk about those changes.
Okay.
What led to the decline of this phenomenon?
Well, for starters, America was changing.
Okay.
The nouveau riche gradually gained more social acceptance at home, reducing the allure of a European title as a means of climbing the social ladder. And in Europe, the rise of King George V ushered in an era of austerity and prudence, making those extravagant displays of wealth, so often associated with the dollar princesses, less appealing.
So it was almost a perfect storm of shifting values and priorities.
It was.
The need for American heiresses to bolster European fortunes waned, while the desire for those titles lost some of its luster
Right.
in the face of evolving social norms.
Exactly. And of course, we can't forget the impact of World War I.
Right.
The war brought about profound social and economic changes
Yes.
that further accelerated the decline of these lavish transatlantic marriages.
There's this great quote from the father of Francis' work,
Francis Ware.
Another Dollar Princess.
Okay.
He was so disillusioned with this trend of American women marrying into European aristocracy
Oh, wow.
that he declared, "It's time this international marrying came to a stop.
Wow.
If I had anything to say about it,
Uh-huh.
I'd make an international marriage a hanging offense."
That quote perfectly captures the changing sentiment, doesn't it?
It goes.
It reflects a growing sense of American identity and a recognition of the often unhappy consequences of these marriages.
So the era of the Dollar Princesses was drawing to a close,
Yes,
but its legacy lived on in surprising ways.
it did.
Remember Francis' work, whose father was so vehemently opposed to these international marriages?
Yes.
Well, she became the great-grandmother of, wait for it, Princess Diana.
It's a remarkable connection, isn't it?
It is.
Princess Diana's ancestry highlights the lasting ripple effects of this historical phenomenon.
Right.
Even though the era of dollar princesses faded, its influence can still be traced through generations, connecting us to those captivating stories of ambition, social mobility,
Yeah.
and the enduring allure of titles and tradition.
It's fascinating to see how history unfolds,
It is.
how seemingly disparate events and individuals are connected in ways we might never have imagined.
And that's what makes exploring history so rewarding, isn't it?
It is.
There's always something new to discover, this hidden connection to uncover, some unexpected twist in the narrative.
Absolutely. And as we wrap up this part of our deep dive,
Okay.
I can't help but think about the broader implications of this story.
Yeah.
What can we, in the 21st century, glean from the stories of these dollar princesses?
That's a great question.
How do their experiences resonate with us today, even though the context has changed?
That's a great question, and one we'll delve into further in the final part of our deep dive.
Okay.
We'll explore the legacy of these transatlantic unions, the lessons they offer about love, marriage, social mobility,
Yeah.
and the enduring pursuit of status and belonging.
So if you're enjoying this journey into the world of dollar princesses,
I am.
make sure to stay tuned for the final part of our deep dive,
Okay.
where we'll connect these historical threads to our modern world
Yeah.
and explore the timeless questions they raise about the choices we make,
Uh-huh.
the forces that shape our lives,
Right.
and the enduring search for love, happiness, and fulfillment. We've journeyed through the Gilded Age,
Yeah.
explored the motivations and consequences of these transatlantic unions,
Mm-hmm.
and even uncovered surprising connections to modern-day royalty.
It's amazing, isn't it?
But as with any good deep dive, it's the so what that really matters.
Oh,
What can we,
okay.
in the 21st century, glean from the stories of these dollar princesses?
What strikes me is that
Yeah.
while the specific context may have changed,
Okay.
we're not exactly seeing heiresses lining up to marry dukes these days.
Right.
The underlying themes remain remarkably relevant. The desire for social mobility,
Yeah.
the allure of status and recognition, the complex interplay of love and financial security.
It's true.
These are all things that resonate even today.
Think about our fascination with celebrity couples.
Uh-huh.
The pressure to marry within certain social circles,
Right.
even the role of financial stability in choosing a partner. While we may not be talking about titles and dowries,
Yeah.
the underlying dynamics feel strangely familiar.
Exactly. It begs the question,
Mm-hmm.
have we truly moved beyond that transactional view of marriage
Right.
that was so prevalent in the dollar princess era?
I don't know.
Or do societal expectations and economic realities still shape our perceptions of love and partnership in more subtle ways?
It's something to ponder, isn't it?
It is.
While we might not be bartering fortunes for dukedoms,
Right.
there's still a sense that certain markers of success,
Yeah.
career achievements,
Yeah.
financial stability, social media followings,
Mm-hmm.
can influence our perceptions of ourselves and potential partners.
It all circles back to that age-old question of what truly defines status and happiness.
Exactly.
Is it something we acquire externally through titles or possessions?
Mm-hmm.
Or is it something cultivated internally through personal fulfillment and genuine connections?
The dollar princesses, with their gilded cages and often unfulfilled dreams,
Right.
offer a cautionary tale. They remind us that outward appearances don't always reflect inner peace,
Absolutely.
and that true happiness often lies in forging a path that aligns with our own values and aspirations.
And I think there's also a powerful lesson about agency.
Oh, yeah?
The dollar princesses, often constrained by societal expectations and familial pressures,
Right.
had limited control over their destinies. Today, while we certainly still face societal pressures, we have more opportunities to define our own versions of success and happiness.
That's a hopeful takeaway.
It is.
The stories of these women, while often tinged with sadness,
Right.
can also serve as inspiration to forge our own paths, to
Yeah.
prioritize genuine connection over societal expectations, and to remember that true worth lies in our character and contributions,
Absolutely.
not in the titles we hold or the fortunes we inherit.
Exactly. It's
Yeah.
about recognizing that while history offers valuable insights,
Yeah.
we have the power to shape our own narratives and create a future where love and fulfillment are not contingent on external markers of success.
And on that note, we'll wrap up this deep dive into the captivating world of dollar princesses.
Sounds good.
It's been a journey through time filled with ambition, heartbreak, and unexpected connections that remind us of the timeless nature of human desires
Right.
and the complexities of love, marriage, and the pursuit of happiness.
Thank you for joining us on this exploration.
It's been fun.
We hope you'll continue to join us on the deep dive as we uncover more fascinating stories from the past.
Yes.
And connect them to the present in ways that spark curiosity, encourage critical thinking, and remind us that history is not just a collection of dates and events,
Yeah.
but a living tapestry that continues to shape our world.
Absolutely.